you video, the guy that's out front, that's by himself, or the rest of the pack.
Right.
So basically, when it comes down to it, this is how they finished 1, 2, and 3 was Joey Tanner, Greg Walters, Steve Moore got around Jerry Schramm. In that 16 car, that 16S of Jerry Schramm, I don't know what he does, but if he goes from the bottom and he goes anywhere towards the middle of the top, car's junk. But if he can run that bottom, he's fast at the bottom. It drives in, it turns, it hooks, and it goes. But that's where he goes every single lap. It doesn't matter if it's a modified or whatever like that.
Well, I was going to say he does the same thing in the modified. And actually, I think Charlie. I think Jerry is a better modified driver than he is with the late models. I mean, just from what I've seen, he likes the modified.
I think so.
I just watch him. He just looks. His driving style fits him. He just looks more comfortable in a modified.
He really does, and that's Matthew's turned a lot of laps with Jerry. I mean, 4th of July weekend, you couldn't get the two away from each other.
Remember.
I mean, you remember calling those two shows.
Yeah.
And when we went down to Cottage Grove on the 4th, same exact scenario. Couldn't get away from Jerry. I mean, granted, we were pitted right next to him, but that shouldn't mean we should run with him the entire race.
Yeah.
But still, he does like being pinned to the bottom. You get, if you got to get around Jerry, how do you do it?
You got to go to the outside.
He's
going to make, either you're going to move him or you got to go to the outside of him.
Or you just are a little bit faster on exit and show some color and get under him.
Yeah. But
that's hard to do when you're in the gutter.
But
now, did he finish third? You said he finished third?
Steve Moore finished third. He finished 4th.
Steve got by Jerry. How did he do it?
Around the top.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Steve's another one of those guys. Steve likes the top of the racetrack.
And Steve's car was working anywhere. I think late in the race, with more time on the tires and everything else, I believe Greg's car. I mean, one, you can't catch somebody that's literally
on your bumper,
knocking on your back door.
Right.
I mean, it was just I don't know what he did, but that car was just super, super fast. Of Joey Tanner. Post interview, Victory Circle, because we had the fireworks show and stuff. Afterwards, we had all top 3 guys, stop out front, and then later on after the fireworks show, then everybody else kind of came out and got their trophies and stuff, but. You could definitely tell. I went and talked to Steve Moore. Steve's like, "Hey, man, what a great race, man. It was good to go," and blah blah. And then I came up to Walters, and you can definitely tell it was very, very emotional for him.
Sure.
And of course, it's the way it is. I mean, you're talking about bringing up history and stuff of his dad and how much his dad's done for the track and just for the touring series and everything else, and how much he's done for the fans and the drivers at Sunset. He's going to be remembered for a long, long time. Sunset's there because of Walters. I mean, that's just it. To come into second, I'm sure, it was bittersweet, but I will give kudos to Joey Tanner, okay? Because once the interview and stuff got to Joey, the first thing Joey said was like, "Hey, man, I did awesome," or what? Absolutely not. The first thing that said is, "I respect that man that came in second. I respect him and this track and his father for everything he's done and everything he's done for not only myself, but my crew and my racing." I mean, it gives me goosebumps and stuff on how emotional Victory Lane was just, surrounding the Walters game.
And last year was the same thing. I mean, it was emotional. Trophy Dash interviews when I think it was Jimmy Schramm won that.
I think so,
and Jimmy had tears in the eyes just in the Trophy Dash. And when you're trying to do the interview and you see these guys that that we work with on a regular basis, and you understand the history of Doug Walters, I can't tell you up until Doug's passing, a season from when I was 2 years old to when he passed, not seeing Doug at the racetrack.
Right.
I mean, you're talking years and decades of not, always seeing Doug at the track, whether it was, in one of his cars or, with Steve Moore or whatever the case was, with the 4-wheel drive late model he brought to Willamette with the quick change up front and the quick change in the back. And
that was awesome.
And the thing about Doug is he always, when he showed up at the racetrack, you knew Doug was there with those beautiful red cars and the big silver 67. They look more like show cars than did race cars.
Right.
I mean, his stuff was always on point, period. You knew you could walk in the racetrack, scan the pit area, there's Doug Walters. It was kind of like his cars were, in his era, what Don Irely's cars were when Don ran, and Bob Jeffrey and Darren Koffel and Russ Sell. There was those cars that just, there they are. You know who and where they are immediately. His stuff was always just like
He was very, he was very detailed of what he did.
Very.
He enjoyed.
And that's what contributed so much to Greg Walter's success. His son, it wasn't just that, he had good equipment. It was the way they ran their program.
Yeah.
Doug was highly respected by a lot of racers. And I think that race up there at Sunset really it does a good job touching on his memory.
Well, it was
and
cool.
honoring Doug.
It was cool because we had 3 great sponsors that were there that presented this. It was, of course, the TNG, and she and her whole group and stuff basically had turn number 4. They had their own caterer and all that type of stuff. But I went down there and I talked to her. I put her on the mic, and she was she talked about coming back again and again and again. Miletus Beverage, they were there over in turn 1, over in suite number 1. Those guys are awesome. We had Baseline Pawn from Cornelius area. They were there. They're the ones that actually help sponsor the fireworks show. It was awesome. It was great. I got to give kudos and stuff to Trisha, because prior to the races, Nikki had said, "Hey, look, we need some music, some montage firework music." And so she went down this list, on YouTube or whatever, and she had picked this one. She goes, "Hey, what about this one?" So I kind of listened to like 15 seconds of it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, sounds good." Literally, I wish I'd have videotaped it and videotaped the music and stuff with it, because we had no clue on how they were running their firework program. We knew it was like 15 to 20 minutes long. She picked this music that literally was amazing to the way they put their fireworks. Every time some big blast, it would hit on the music, and every time it kind of come down low, the music would turn down low, then go to another. It was just cool. Wow. We had the fans and stuff that still stay in the stands that were just cheering afterwards.
That's cool.
It was over past 11 o'clock, and you could hear them from across the street. Sure. They're just having a great time. So listen to this. So with Joey winning, let's talk about the IMCA mods. This was a race that pretty much almost got dominated by one guy.
Okay, real quick. Did they do what they did last year? Late model 67, modified 57, 40. Okay,
yep,
cool.
Yep,
okay.
They did it. It was cool. The whole program and stuff, all night long was awesome. Yeah. So 57 laps. Remember that number, 57. Okay. So Schramm gets out front.
Jimmy or Jerry?
Jerry Schramm.
Okay, so he pulled double duty.
Okay. Again, quick on the bottom. This guy was pretty much, he was the guy to beat. He was running strong. He was fast in the turns, everything else. Points leader and second point were both, of course, Craig Castle and Bubba Foster. Where do these guys start? Mid-pack, next to each other.
These are the guys in the points battle.
The
start mid-pack.
2 points away from each other.
And they start door to door.
Start door to door.
Oh, boy.
All the way through
That's
the
fun
field.
to watch.
All the way. It was crazy.
That's fun to watch.
Because it took my eye on who actually started second to last. And I'll get to that. So you got Craig Castle, Bubba Foster coming up through the field. Aaron Elwes in the 48. Bad fast. Cody Jones actually started this race and started leading it in the 62 car. Somewhere along the line, about 12 laps into it, just big smoke started coming out of the car. He pulled in the field.
Oh, no.
But this is he's lucky he didn't collect the whole field, because as soon as he came off of turn 4, the car just kind of like stopped. He was running the middle pack, and it kind of came down, and people are trying to go around him. It almost was bad for him, but everybody else had to kind of check up and everything else too. So Cody Jones, that was leading it, pulls in the infield. Aaron Ellison gets out front, just starts walking away from him. Jerry Schramm starts coming up, passes him. Aaron starts to fall back. Okay, now Jerry's got point. Okay, who's starting to come up through the field? Remember the laps, the 57 of nothing but
killer.
Kenny the Killer Miller. Second to last, and we started 14 cars.
Okay.
Started 7 rows deep. Okay. 14 cars start. So we started 13th on 15 to 17 laps to go. This guy comes through the field and passes Jerry on the outside. Worked with him.
He just picked up a win a couple weeks ago at that track. He's got that new chassis dialed in.
He's got that. Well, okay, but the week before that was leading it and something broke. Yeah,
Oh,
it was just, and he passed Jerry Schramm for the lead on that one. And the car actually, well, that's when, it actually lost the head gasket and started smoking really bad.
Right.
And I was just hollering up in the Moxie booth like, just keep going, dude. It's already smoking. What's it gonna do? Stop?
Yeah.
All right. Well, who cares? I mean, just keep going. You got like 4 laps to go. Go. And he just, he pulled off. It's, it's a sponsor motor and everything else. And so, and coming to find out, it was a head gasket and everything else. So, with like 12 laps to go, Kenny finds the outside, and just this car just flat done hooked. The forward drive, he would go into the turn, and he would burp the throttle, it'd get the car to set, get on the brake, just roll back on it. And this car, the forward drive in this car is stupid fast.
Wow.
Oh, it's just the difference between last year's car and this year's new 2016 TRE chassis. It
sounds like night and day.
Night and day.
Yeah.
It's just you cannot put any numbers, and he's still. This is the thing about it. He's only at 75%.
Well, and we talked about that when he called in, 3-4 weeks ago we called in and said, the car is going to get better. I promise it's going to get better, and it's going to get better.
There's at 57 laps, all I'm thinking is the 57's coming up. Now the 57's leading it. You can hear the crowd roaring, right? Because I'm making it, like, hey, 57 laps. Oh, look who's up to the 57. Is this going to be a Cinderella story coming from the back of the pack? Blah, 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 blah.
That's tough to do on a little short track like that because those laps click off pretty quick up there.
Well, and that's the thing, too. Anytime we go to Sunset, it's like if you can pass 1 or 2 cars, it's a win in my book because it's hard to pass.
It's
hard to pass.
Well, it's short, it's narrow, and you, like we said earlier, you're always in traffic.
Mm-hmm. It's hard.
Unless you can get clear to the top by yourself, no one else is up there, and get a good run on everybody, which sounds like what happened for Kenny. That's a tough place to win a race.
Well, you want to hear the end of this?
Bring it on. Let's hear it.
10 laps to go. Caution comes out. Jerry Schramm's running second. Kenny goes into turn 3. Car stops.
Oh, no.
Out of turn number 4, up on the outside wall on the straightaway, car stopped. I'm thinking, huh? No. Window nut comes down. Kenny's arm comes out. Waves like this.
Oh, no.
Puts his thumb up. Tow truck comes. Big Bobby comes up, asks him what's going on. I'm kind of looking down there, looking at the rest of the field, coming through 3 and 4. Sure enough, car broke. 10
What
laps
happened?
to
What
go.
broke?
The same thing that happened down at Willamette last year actually happened to us twice in one night.
Was it the rear end?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is the bolt that holds in the rear coupler for the driveline.
Mm-hmm.
Basically came out and broke and lost the driveline under caution, of all things.
That's
Oh, my
strange.
word.
That's strange.
It's the weirdest
Yeah.
thing ever. But if you were anybody, you knew for a fact
it was
that
over.
Miller was there.
Yeah.
Because he was just walking away from the field.
Wow.
But check this out. So
this bunches up the field with 10 to go.
Who was running behind Miller when he passed Schramm was none only but your points leader of Craig Castle.
So they came from mid-pack. Now he's running second when Kenny broke, so he took the point at the caution?
He was third because Schramm was running
Schramm
second.
was on point at caution.
Bubba Foster was running fourth. Check this out.
So it's
Oh,
Castle's running
my
second,
word.
Foster's running
no.
fourth.
No. Schramm's running second. Castle's running third. Bubba's running fourth.
Okay.
Okay. So once a caution comes out, who takes the lead? Of course, California Restart. Schramm's out front. Castle, where does he go?
Top side.
I'm going to the top side.
Yeah.
Because he
saw what Kenny was
He just
doing.
watched Miller sit there and go, you know what? In 3 laps. I mean, it took him 3 laps. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Schramm kind of gave him a little bit, but I mean, Kenny was just trying to make his move, faster and faster and faster. It took about a good 3 laps or whatever. But once the restart came out, took Craig 2 laps sort of like that, and he passed him. Now, you talk about another emotional win for this driver. Is because how much Walters has done for Craig Castle. He's having a new baby. It's been a little while since Victory Lane. I mean, it was an awesome win for that 25 group. This is the kicker. So because we were trying to get the late models and stuff out because they were the race before the late models. Mm-hmm. I give this to him because he was so excited. He stops on the front stretch. He literally does a Kyle Busch. He stops on the front stretch, drops the window nut, pulls his Hans off, pulls his helmet off, gets out of the car, sits on the window nut, starts pounding the roof. Yeah! I mean, he was so happy. I mean, it gave me goosebumps. The whole crowd, because it was just a cool race to watch. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was awesome racing on the outside. It was awesome, having him and Bubba Foster race side by side. I mean, these guys.
Did Bubba get past Schramm?
Excuse me. No, Schramm finished second.
Okay, so now let me ask you something.